Okay. Hello and welcome to another live stream. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. Sorry it took a couple minutes. For some reason, my internet was just saying going live, going live. We're going to dive in. Thank you, Sean, very much. I appreciate the donation. We're doing a little thing for if we hit 5 of the bullseye, we'll do a live stream of a actual car review. So that way you can see the bloopers and everything live. I don't usually have too many bloopers, but we're going to dive into the news, starting off with BMW. I know the thumbnail shows Audi, but we'll start with BMW with the new platform that is coming out with pretty much all their vehicles, and it's the EV platform, the Neue, basically the new design to their vehicles. It's going to be very futuristic styling. I'm not a huge fan of the small kidney grille. The interior is still kind of up in the air with it, but the performance is good. The charging is good. And they'll have the iX3 and the iX5, which is going to be kind of exciting to see in North America as soon as we get our hands on them. And then with the refresh of like the X5, it's going to have the same platform as that. So I'm kind of on defense with it because jumping into Audi, you guys have seen most of the new reviews, which I've posted a couple of the new ones for the A5 and the SQ5. Great vehicles. It's just so tech forward that they've kind of stripped out all of the interior that's for luxury. For me, I feel like it's something that's going to be getting older quicker than giving that luxury / performance feel. I mean, when you get a vehicle, you want to have something that's you drive it, not something that I have a tablet inside. And that's pretty much what everybody's doing. Sean said it last week that it's literally like a copy paste. And that's kind of what they're doing with the vehicles, just literally putting a whole bunch of TV screens in all of them. Hey, James, how are you doing? Nice to see you as well. And whenever you're getting a new vehicle, I mean, I hate to say it, the last thing you're wanting is more and more tech, because with my own personal vehicles, every time you get an update, I'm sure you guys have the same problem where like your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto will just kind of not work here and there. And it's irritating because the updates don't really go into the vehicles, but they go into the smartphones. And they're continuously updating this system for the smartphones. And it doesn't matter your server because they're always doing that. But then the cars are not actually up to par with that. So like with the new Audis, for instance, my brother picked up a SQ5 a few weeks ago. And I noticed it also on the test drive. There's several features that don't actually work still to this day, which I told him just, be patient and wait for an over-the-air update, because if you take it to the dealership, they're not going to have a fix for it. In which if you have these vehicles, the issue that happens is your front sensors, they're not going to be working. And some of your safety features like your auto stop, not the auto stop, the thank you, James. I appreciate that. The like the forward collision sensor, it may not work. So when you have these sensors that's not working and the vehicle's all new for us in North America, we've been waiting quite a while for them. It's a little irritating, especially I think he paid about 72 grand for his SQ5. And like I said, it happened on all 3 of the new Audi variants that I personally drove. I've seen the same thing. So if you have those issues, just kind of hang tight to it. If you go to the dealer, they don't really have a fix for it. Sadly, the vehicle is all new with the new MMI technology. Mercedes is also doing the same thing. A lot of recalls are coming into place. I haven't really been touching bases on those. If you guys want to hear about some recalls, let me know in the comments or through the Q&As, and I'll kind of briefly touch bases with that, because with all the new battery and EV/PHEV vehicles, you're going to have some of these issues arising. And unfortunately, some companies like GM and Chevy, they're having some more issues with their engines and things of that nature, which is pretty sad. This week, we did go to Chevy. So we have the Tahoe and we have the Equinox for 2026 variants. They didn't, obviously the new Corvette isn't out yet, which they had a couple of Z06. We turned them down this week only because I was really wanting to wait to do the new variant instead of doing a Z06, because we already have several Corvettes on the channel. So that's why I thought, it's probably better we kind of just do some 2026 models, so that way you can see the updated features and whatnot on that side. We also went to Kia. We did the EV9. The big update there is they now have a GT line, GT. So we did the GT line. Unfortunately, they didn't have that one yet. It's kind of hard to find them on the dealerships at the moment, and it's an increase of over 100 horsepower, which it's crazy. As a GT line, they have a lot of power. It's like 5 seconds 0 to 60. And when you're thinking a tank on wheels, because this is a full EV third row variant, it's pretty damn fast. It's almost the same feel as the Hummer EV. Whenever, if you've seen the review, when I took off with it, it literally picks up like you're going on an airplane because they're so damn heavy. But in the same aspect, they're a fun vehicle. So these electric variants, I'm excited for them. I just don't know how they're not really improving any infrastructure. Good evening, Anthony. Good evening, Sean. I agree with you about the technology is just crazy. As soon as you get used to the new updates, and then they updated all over again. Yes. And that's another thing, especially like BMW, Audi, and Mercedes are constantly doing it. Not so much with like Infiniti, Lexus, and Acura. You don't really see it as much. But when you go into the Germans, they're literally updating it sometimes once a week. And it's not just your phone settings, but they update things like the climate control. They'll update different settings that you actually have to change things in the vehicle. So it does get a little bit over the top. With Audi, I'm a little bit disappointed with their minimalistic look because now it's not really minimalistic, as I said in the review. It's literally like buttons everywhere on a touchpad. It's cleaned up, but then there's gloss black everywhere, and you're going to have fingerprints everywhere. Porsche, they're kind of doing the same thing. I just feel like it's not becoming a driving or a driver's car anymore. It's literally like, I just want technology and I want the vehicle to drive myself. That's all fine, but still give us the essence of a vehicle, especially when you're going into like a sport line on any of these vehicles, because the performance by no means they've like lowered it. It's good. The weight distribution, it's even better in most cases. And when you're getting to these larger vehicles, they're doing the rear axle steering, which more or less cheats, but it's giving you the better steering capabilities when you're taking corners and when you're parking these vehicles. Because sometimes when I'm parking like an X7, it's a freaking boat. So when you're backing it up, if you didn't have rear axle steering, I hate to say it, you probably would back up into something. I do show different short videos with the backup assist. I mean, their parking is by far one of the best. Like Mercedes isn't bad. I did it on an AMG E63S. One of our subscribers, he actually has one personally, and he loaned it to me for the day. It's an older review, maybe a couple years old. If you guys haven't watched it, I'll try to link it somehow on here. Probably not on the chat part, but maybe on like the advertisement on the community so you guys can watch it. But we did a test on it before he let me drive the vehicle, and you have to do a lot of the maneuvers for it. So you'll come, you'll stop. It tells you to put it in reverse. It tells you to put it into drive, similar to Jeep, which it's not a bad system, but there's just a lot going on. When it goes to BMW, you go forward and it's literally copying everything you're doing going forward, making turns and whatnot. And then when you put it into reverse, hands off the steering wheel, just kind of apply the brake and it parks it exactly how you came in. So it's great, especially if you're doing something like a one-way road and you need to get out and it's a tight area. Usually in North America, it's not very tight. We have pretty decent size in the width of the roads. But that being said, even in Europe, the roads are pretty good because when I went to England, I saw multiple X7s and I was just like, wow, you see it and it's so real because you're thinking, how the heck are those things going to fit in Europe? But they do. As for Infiniti, the new QX60, they have already started the production line on it. It's going to still have the VC turbocharged engine. So I'm not really excited about the performance in it, but the styling, I think they're finally catching up. And I'm happy that Nissan North America is starting to move new vehicles because we just got the QX80. Now we're getting the QX60. And supposedly we're going to get some more variants coming in like the QX65, which is going to be the competition against the GV80 coupe because it's going to have that coupe back and it's a 2-row vehicle. And from what I've heard, there's a possibility we might get a V6 variant and the VC turbocharged engine. So if they do that, I think it'll be excellent. Because with our new 2025 QX60, one thing that I did notice, we have about 700 miles on it, so we haven't drove a lot, is when you're under 10 miles an hour, that variable compression turbocharged engine, what happens is around 8 to 9 miles an hour, it doesn't know which way to go for the compression. So you'll feel jerks like this, literally back and forth, because it almost feels like you're pushing the gas, even though you're just kind of holding the gas, you're not pushing it. So it can't find that sweet spot in the compression ratio with the pulley transmitting to get you better or worse MPGs. And we have found that also whenever you're starting to go around a 50 to 60 mile an hour speed. So that translates to a lot of their vehicles, because even the new Nissan Murano has that same engine, but now it has the 9-speed automatic transmission, which is awesome. And I personally think the new Nissan Murano is amazing, especially with the pricing. It's right at 45, 50 grand fully loaded. I mean, just a great bang for your buck. As for Lexus, unfortunately, there's not like they're getting ready to do a lot of updates. So as you already know, with the ES and most of their models for 2026 is where the updates are going to be. And I'm anticipating models to be held, because at the time for the release could be the time for the new updates, if or we get the tariffs or not. And as you're noticing, a lot of the updates on the new vehicles have increased in price, but that's normal. So we haven't actually seen an update in pricing for any of the tariff scare or anything like that. Now, as for services, I've already heard from multiple dealerships that the service prices are going to start increasing, which they started this month on most of them. So expect at least maybe $10 to $30 difference in price. Wheels have increased in price, also braking. You can still find deals if you go through like eBay and things of that nature. But ultimately, if you're using dealerships, you're going to be spending a little bit more money. Even if you do like a tire rotation, I've seen in some dealerships where they've already added an additional $5, $10. So that is because the tariffs have been in place for the 25% on the parts. And unfortunately, a lot of the parts on almost all the vehicles, they're not really made in North America. They're made all over the place. Audi, I think, is going to get hit the most if we do have any tariffs, and hopefully we don't. And I say that only because you could see a pricing like the SQ5 is around 72 grand. That would easily go over $80,000. So just something to take in consideration, whenever you're looking to purchase a vehicle because of those price increases. That being said, with the other vehicles like Acura, Honda, they seem to be doing pretty good because they're trying to focus everything in North America. So they're going to probably bite the bullet and not have any issues there. And a lot of companies are also trying to figure out ways to, I hate to say manipulate it, but that's basically what it is. Did you want to say something, Riz? You checked me out. Oh, sorry. Rizzy's over here just watching me go, so kind of sidetracked me for a second. But in some of the vehicles that I have been testing lately, I do appreciate that they're not all tech-driven, because even when I was at Maserati this past week, I just stopped to say hello to the team. A lot of their vehicles are not so tech-driven, so it feels like a vehicle that you can drive. And with Maserati News, they have been talking about doing some new updates with Alfa Romeo. Stellantis is trying to do a lot of changes. Obviously, we all know about the V8s that's coming, and I'm excited to see what's going on. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are we going backwards? Because now we are allowing everything to just go back to normal for, say, 4 to 6 years, or however many years until the next president or next administration changes the laws. Is this going to affect us going down the road yet again? Because we're not actually fixing the problem with the EPA, even though the EPA is being a lot more lenient right now. I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that, because obviously with the electric vehicles, we don't have the infrastructure. Plug-in hybrids, that's something that works. The hydrogen vehicle, they're doing hydrogen cells. They're working with different things there, but not full hydrogen vehicles where you would fill it up with that. So going back to V8s, I don't know. I'm thinking that it's something that it could be good or bad. I am happy to see them. Even Mercedes is going to be bringing back some 63s on their AMGs, but not on all of them. Like the new C-Class, they're basically going to merge the 43 and 63 into a 53 variant, but it'll be a 6-cylinder. So I'm kind of happy with the 6-cylinder variants. Now, as for the MC20, we haven't been driving it too much, so we're still under 200 miles. I did fill it up with gas. It's only like a 12-gallon gas tank, and you get roughly 280 miles, maybe. I think I only got like 180 miles. No, 176 miles. But anyways, it's something that could be daily driven. It's a very comfortable vehicle. We're going to have the review coming soon. I'm going to try to do it over this weekend or next week sometime. We have Cadillac that we're going back to another Chevy team, and we're going to Subaru to bring some of their hybrid variants like the Forester, because they have some, obviously. Right now, Subaru inventory has been kind of up and down with it, but in some of the teams they have quite a bit, because obviously with the tariff thing that went on just recently, some of the companies decided to not give us the inventory. So that's why we didn't have so many on the channel at the moment. As for vehicles like Volkswagen, I'm very excited to see the new Tiguan. I think the update is going to be awesome whenever we finally get it in North America, and we'll bring it to the channel, because they didn't change anything with the power. But even with that, I feel like what you're getting as an overall deal is great. Just yet again, in the interior, going to that tech, which has a lot of glitch to it on the Volkswagen side. It's not so bad on the Audi side. And I would say Range Rover also has some issues with their tech too, especially with that Pivi Pro. It just hasn't been updated enough. With the SV, Range Rover Sport SV, we have it on Supercar Throttle. We're going to have another review with a different one on this channel. And it actually, I think the one that we did for this channel shows where the whole screen just turned off and turned back on. I mean, when you're paying over 200 grand for a vehicle, this is what I mean. Like, stop going so tech and copy paste where it's the same thing over and over and over. I like some of the aesthetics. I think some of the vehicles are going on the right route, like the GR Corolla. We may get a 4-cylinder turbo. I think that's awesome, because I'm not a huge fan of that Turbo 3, just because it's a lot of power. I mean, you have literally 300 horsepower. That's a lot out of a baby engine like that. It's just, I don't know. And then they even put on there that it's track worthy, but yet they've had people lose the engines, and then they said, well, you shouldn't be going over like 110 miles an hour or something. So it makes no sense. And that's even with the warranty being full warranty. Some of them are not getting anything for compensation, and then they're basically losing their vehicle, or they're paying like 70, basically Toyota's paying maybe 30 to 40% of the bill, which doesn't make too much sense when you're paying $40-some thousand for a vehicle, and then they're not standing behind their warranty. And a lot of companies are starting to do this here and there. BMW does it, unfortunately. Audi, it can be a hit or a miss. What I always recommend to everybody, which my brother went through an issue with his Audi, that's why he got another Audi, is you want to contact North America first, and then contact the dealership. If you have good relationship with the dealership, typically they'll fix things and give you a discount. And then with North America behind them, if you contact them first, sometimes they'll just flip the whole bill. And that was the case for my brother, excluding one of the bills. That was an extra $2,000 to fix. But these are, I hate to say, common things that happen in these vehicles. I'm confused about the direction that Volkswagen has taken. The Volkswagen seems to be more luxury than the Audi right now. That's, you're right on it, Sean. I mean, I don't understand. The Volkswagen team has just been really weird. That family, like, even when you look at Audi, for instance, on their performance vehicles, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's just weird, because so you go to a RS and you're going to have more performance than like Porsche, and in some cases Lamborghini-ish, because sometimes they'll detune it. So that way it's just a little bit less. But then Volkswagen, they're taking components off of that to put in the Audis. And the Audis is the luxury line. The Volkswagen is, the everyday line. And it's the true savings. So if you go into like a Q3, it's better that you go into Volkswagen's Taos because you're spending $50,000 nearly to get a Prestige. You're going to get the S-Line trim on the exterior. But if you go into a Taos, you're paying like 35 grand and you're getting almost the same materials inside the vehicle. And in the technology, it's just, for Volkswagen, it glitches a lot. For Audi, the features don't work. I don't understand how they can't get these two to figure it out. Even when I do like the RS Q8, I've done the new performance. One of them I had to give back, so that's why it took so long to bring it on the channel, because the sensors were, none of the sensors were working. It was just ding, 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 ding. And I had it with a Volkswagen too. I think I put it on TikTok or Instagram, actually. It literally had every single check engine light. I think we had 15 different things pop up. So I didn't obviously review the vehicle, but I did show like 15, 20 seconds of it. And you can't even drive the vehicle past like 23 miles an hour. We also had it happen with the ID Buzz. And I was so excited to get my hands on that damn new bus. Like, I kid you not. I was telling everybody in my family. I was telling friends. I believe I told multiple times to James about it. I was like, man, I can't wait to get the new bus. Got it. And the first one that we got, we couldn't go over 23 miles an hour because half of the features were not working. I don't understand what the heck Volkswagen's doing. The family is just kind of weird. And then the pricing to the vehicles, if you go into their performance line, it's better you go Audi. But if you're trying to go luxury, in some cases, like obviously in North America, we lost the Arteon. Awesome vehicle. And I would recommend that vehicle to a lot of people, especially like the last variants that we had. They increased the horsepower and it was just exactly what it needed to be. But then Volkswagen doesn't even advertise that car. And then they got discontinued because obviously they want to push you into an Audi. And then now Audi with the A4, they have collapsed it and put it into the A5. And then the A6 is the same platform as the A5. Like, if you're going to do basically the same vehicle, I hate to say it, don't have two different trims. Maybe give us 3 trim levels in each, do the premium, premium plus, and prestige, give features in all of them, and just put it in one vehicle and make it a little bit better. I like the new A5, but there's some things on the exterior I feel they could have done better. The rear, it's just those tail lights, they kind of come out. It looks a little bit like a Civic to me. And I'm just thinking, $50,000. I want it to look luxurious, and I like the light bar, but everybody's doing the light bar. It's like they're copying Tesla. Everybody wants a whole light on the back, a whole light on the front. Even Hyundai, they put the big H. I mean, it's going too much. At some point, you want something sleek, sophisticated. You want it to look either luxurious, you want it to be sporty, then have the trims for them. I think, for instance, the Passport, they did an excellent job with that vehicle because the exterior, it looks rugged, even though it's not necessarily meant for the ruggedness that it looks. It looks pretty damn beefy. They kept a V6 engine. It's a solid vehicle. They got the 10th generation or the 2nd generation transmission that's in the Pilot. It was a great choice. So just the few things that they touched up to make it an all-new variant, that was a good direction. And it's not so tech-ified. In the interior, you got a screen, you got another screen for the gauge cluster. That's it. You don't need any more. We don't need screens on the passenger side. Hell, even BMW's putting screens in the back seat for the i7s. I think it's nice that they put them, don't get me wrong. But, if I want cell phones everywhere, at some point, I just separate it from the vehicle. Another vehicle that I think is going to be a top contender. Anthony, any news on the updates for the Pilot? Right now, there's not a lot of updates. I did talk with Honda, and they're, I hate to say, being a bit tough with some of their talking about everything. The V6, from my understanding, is still alive, and they're not changing anything there, which kind of makes sense because that's the same thing that they've been doing with the MDX. But then in the same aspect, Honda has been saying that they're going to be adding some more PHEVs. So I am expecting to see a trim for a PHEV, as well as having, the suspension that they're basically doing the same thing with the Passport. But the interior, it's going to be very similar from my understanding. They're going to have the same screen layout and whatnot. It's not literally Honda, what they have been doing with all of their vehicles, as you notice with the Civic, is they'll take the Civic and they'll make it the same as the CRV. The HRV is a little different, but they'll use kind of the same interior design, and that's kind of the way Honda's been going with everything there. The new ADX, I'm hoping I can get my hands on one next week. We're going to stop over because we have a team in Lakeland. They've been I guess selling them a lot quicker. That's basically the HRV, but the Acura variant. So around 35, 40 grand, which is awesome for a luxury vehicle. And it has more of a sporty style, especially if you get like the A-Spec to it. So I think Acura is doing a great job with giving that sporty style and the upscale interior, similar to Mazda. They're doing an awesome job. Honda's not doing a bad job, don't get me wrong. They're going the direction that most customers want them to go, so I appreciate that. Toyota, they're kind of staying on the same segment with everything kind of being like a Crown or a Prius. So I'm not so happy with that. But like I said on the last live stream, the GR Corolla, I think it's going to look a lot more aggressive, and especially if they do throw that turbo 4. I mean, now increase the horsepower like crazy. Right now, it's under 5 seconds, 0 to 60. I mean, you could see that in the low 4 seconds, 0 to 60, and that's a Corolla. I mean, just thinking about that blows my mind. BMW has, from my understanding, I just have to do some cross references, but I have heard that the Z4, they're going to keep it alive, which makes sense, but it's going to be for North America, not for everybody. So that being the case, I'm excited for that, because if they do a new variant that way, I mean, that's a hell of a deal vehicle, because you get the M40 and it's like $72,000, and that's the same engine that's in the M440, the same that's in the M340, and all these vehicles are more money, but yet the Z4, it's just a little bit more of a classic style design. It's still a fun to drive vehicle, and it's not so tech forward. But as everyone knows, BMW is putting pretty much all of the electronics in the vehicles, where you're going to have multiple screens, and they're also trying to do that new screen or the new heads-up display, which I think the heads-up display idea is better than the screens. So it's going to project almost like the whole lower bit of the windscreen or the front windshield. So that is really like, that's some actual updates, instead of just throwing an LG or a Samsung screen into a car and saying, oh yeah, we got new technology, and then throwing a iDrive 9 or 9.5. I've heard some people say that maybe they're going to go iDrive 10, but I don't see how they would skip to that high of a number at this moment. Probably 9 or 9.5. And most of the updates, I'm hoping they don't do like they did with the iDrive 8, where you had to go to 8.5 in order to get some updates, because they had some issues where the first 8.0 couldn't get the updates of 8.5 and going forward. That being said, these softwares, they don't really go obsolete, so you'll always be able to use them. I had a comment actually today about a Toyota, because they were using 4G, and they said, man, the systems are going to go obsolete quick. There's still a lot of vehicles that are doing 4G capabilities. 5G is still very new in only some vehicles. So I don't see 4G going or phasing out for a long time, because even with a 3G, you should still be able to work most of your stuff. You're not going to have like an Apple CarPlay and a 3G system, because that's older. So you would obviously have to have some kind of aftermarket adapter. But if you're able to use it, then it's not obsolete. I mean, you're still up to date. There's no need to worry about losing or buying a new vehicle because of technology. So one thing to not be concerned about is if you are thinking my vehicle is getting obsolete because, it's a few years old, that's not necessarily the case. You will not obviously have the updated maps. If you have the navigation, you may not have some of the updated safety, but your system will still work in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you have it, should still operate. For Audis, all the way to 2019 until now are still somewhat of the same. They did update the MMI, but in some of the new 2025 variants and even 2026 variants are going to still have the same MMI technology from 2019, which Porsche, I think they go back to like 2017 or something. It's like 2 or 3 years behind Audi. So going back to what Sean was saying, like Volkswagen being more luxurious, the Volkswagen family is just a bit weird. with their technology. Like if you have a Bentley, for instance, you have older technology in a Bentley than you'll have in an Audi. That to me just blows me away. And then another thing, which I wish I would have had my batteries were dead. But next time I go to an Audi team that has some Bentleys there, I'll show you the speakers. It's an upgraded speaker from Audi. They're literally, I mean, it's an upgraded speaker for Bentley, but it's the same speaker that's in Audi, and they got the O-rings literally there on the amplifier. So, I don't I don't think that's fair. You're spending a lot of money for a vehicle. I mean, you're going more than 100 grand more than almost any vehicle to go into a Bentley, and you're getting Audi things. But in the same aspect, if you buy a Lamborghini Urus, I'm sure people know by watching different TikTok videos and whatnot, almost everything has Audi symbols all over it, or even in some cases, you might find a couple of Volkswagen symbols. And that's the same thing if you have like, an A5, you may see the same thing there, where you might have a Volkswagen symbol here and there. If you get the Toyota Supra, you'll have some BMW symbols because the suspension is from BMW. The engine, it's a BMW. The interior, the technology, most of the vehicle is BMW. But in that category, I'm okay with it because you're getting a vehicle for like 10, 15 grand less than the BMW variant. And I have a ton of reviews of it. It's a very fun to drive vehicle, and it's not so over the top with tech. So if you're looking for fun vehicles, unfortunately, a lot of them are two-seat vehicles. But as for SUVs, they're all still kind of going into the Turbo 4 variants. Not a lot of talks of going back into the V6 at the moment, which I wish they would go back to that, because one thing that my wife Rizzy has been complaining about her QX60 is the Turbo 4. It feels heavy every time you're mashing the gas because of the Turbo 4, and it's a variable compression, opposed to the V6. When you mash it, you don't have to hit 3-4 RPMs. These Turbo 4s, they are designed for these cars, even though they're bigger, but you'll still be hitting a 3 to 4 RPM opposed to a 2 to 3 RPM. So it's a huge difference there. You will hear kind of like a vacuum noise engine. It's not obviously something that's for enthusiasts, but in the MPGs also are not necessarily that much better. The first fill for the QX60, for instance, on a Turbo 4 opposed to the V6, it looked like we were going to get 500 miles to a tank, but now it seems like it's about 420 miles, which is basically right at the same numbers as a V6. So when they're saying, oh, well, it's the EPA, this and that, that's why they're doing it, it is on paper. But if you're actually driving the vehicle, you're not going to get the numbers that's on paper because it's a turbo, and you have to actually push the gas because the damn thing's not going to move. It's a heavy vehicle. As for other vehicles that are for like the Rivian, I'm excited that we're finally getting some inexpensive Rivian vehicles. And one vehicle, the EV9, actually, I think it was the EV9. No, it was the Equinox. We did the Equinox this week. When I was doing the review, because of the simplicity of that vehicle, it's around 37,000. We did the active trim level, which is the same price as the RS, just you pay for features. What I was impressed about with the Equinox, though, is even if you go into an LS, you literally can get features that's in the RS and the active. So you don't have to spend that extra money if you don't want that off-roadsy style, or if you don't want that sporty style. You can get the base LS and get almost all, at least the desirable features, and you're getting standard connectivity that's wireless. And when I was in it, I actually mentioned the Amazon truck, because they do the same thing where you can option features or you could get a base. I think that's a home run, so you don't have to always go up to trim levels. Anthony, have you heard anything more about the BMW Touring coming here? I have been asking a lot, and for some odd reason, I don't know why it hasn't landed around this area. So I may actually take a few days and go outside of the state to pick one up, because I definitely want to get my hands on. What was this? Glad you recommended the art. Because like right now, for some reason, BMW inventory, because of some updates and whatnot, they've been kind of just throwing vehicles. I hate to say, I've been seeing a lot of like 24, 25 with the new MSRP, like they're literally brand new. And then I have seen some 26, as you've seen some of the reviews on the channel. So it's been a mixture. I have been noticing this also with like higher end vehicles a lot. They have some 2023 vehicles that are literally brand new with 0 mile or like 2-3 miles. They haven't been driven. Glad you recommended the RTN. I'm looking to replace the 2012 Passat VR6. Great engine. Still like this car, but I need something with modern safety tech. Feel comfortable driving it on the highway. Yeah, the Arteon, awesome vehicle. It's a hatchback too, so you have a lot of cargo capacity. Space in the back seat's a little bit more tight than the Passat because that's a sedan, but I think overall you'll be super happy with the Arteon, especially if you get like the last year that they were here in North America. I mean, performance-wise, it's exactly where it needed to be. And I used to say it on a lot of reviews when I would do the Arteon. I was a little disappointed that it was like so underpowered because the comparable Audi to it is literally night and day difference. And then towards the end, they made it comparable to the Audi, and then they just discontinued it. And I don't know if you'd be able to find any new because for some reason they did kind of push. I saw some really good deals, some that was like 46, 47 with like the R line, and people were getting them for almost 10 grand off because they're just trying to push them off the lot. Unfortunately, with the used car market, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, which those are updates. Like that's everyone's they're increasing right now on the used car just a little bit. So one thing, if you have a lease, don't necessarily just give it back. Maybe hold off because you could potentially make $5,000-$10,000 off of your lease if you were to buy it and then trade it or sell it private party, because you may have got it at a better deal than the prices are right now. So just something to also take in consideration. We're going to conclude the live stream today. Thank you guys very much for coming out. I know we hit 3 of the 5 for the bullseye. I'm going to go in and see what we have all together, so that way we can try to do the live stream on an actual car review. We'll also do it next week, so maybe I'll put it down to 2, so that way we can catch that goal. Thank you guys again. Check out the new channel, Supercar Throttle, and check out the memberships. We just got some updates on the membership. James, I know, has been following it pretty well, actually, because I've been able to give him videos that no one else is able to see. So if you guys want to see those videos, you can join the membership, and I've been posting 2 of those a week, so that way you get some more perks. Thank you guys. Thank you, Sean. Thanks to everybody that did for the bullseye. Have a great weekend. Take care, James, and I'll see you on the next review.